So today we're in 1.3 order of operations. This is something that you probably have learned in the past, but just to review with you, we do need to know the acronym PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is a kind of catchy phrase that helps us remember that P stands for parentheses, E for exponents, M multiplication, D division, A addition, S subtraction. Okay? So go ahead and write those down real quick. All right, so in example 1, we're going to use these rules to evaluate the expressions. The first thing you need to do is recognize what operations are in the expression. So we see what operations? We see multiplication, addition, division, and subtraction. Actually, all 4 operations. So the first step is to take care of multiplication and division, and we do that in one step, left to right. So we just start with where we see the first multiplication sign, 7 times 8 is 56. Plus, because we're not going to do any adding yet, now we have to divide the terms that the division symbol is between. So 10 divided by 2 is 5 minus 15. Okay, so now that I have addition and subtraction left, 61 minus 15 gives me my answer of 46. 46. On the next one, what are the operations that you see? Multiplication and division. So since it's only multiplication and division, I can work those in one step. I'm going to work it left to right. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do 4 times 3 is what? 12. Now 12 divided by 2 is what?
6.
Okay, 6. So I'm just going to keep working. 6. Now 6 times 10 is what? 60. 60 times 2 is 120. And 120 divided by 30 is 4. Okay, so we just work it left to right, step by step, just continually working those terms until we get to the end and get an answer. All right. Okay, example 2, or I'm sorry, we have a couple more of these. All right, now on these problems, we just see, what do we see in the first one? Did we see that exponent? So we have to evaluate that first. 5 squared is 25. I'm not adding yet. That's in a later step. Now I see a division sign, so I need to divide the terms that division sign is between. Okay, so 10 divided by 5 is 2. I'm bringing down my minus sign. I'm not doing subtraction yet. Now again, I caught another division sign, so I need to divide. 12 divided by 4 is 3 plus 15. Now I can add and subtract. All right, 25 plus 2 is 27. Minus 3 is 24. Plus 15 is 39. Now I want you to try to do this last one. 50 plus 10 divided by 2 plus 15 times 2 minus 12. Okay, so we've got, what did you do first? Did you do 50 plus 10?
No, I did 15 times 2.
No, don't do 15 times 2 first. 10 divided by 2 first. 50 plus 5 plus 30 minus 12. Who got that step right? Who got that step? Okay, good. All right, because we've got to take care of the division and the multiplication. Now that we've taken care of division and multiplication, now we're going to add and subtract left to right. 85 minus 12 gives me 73. Who got the right answer? Raise it. Yep, good. Okay. 73. All right, now in example 2, we're dealing with grouping symbols. Now these grouping symbols basically mean that there's something that needs to be simplified within parentheses or brackets, or in the case of the middle problem, in the numerator or denominator before we can actually follow the typical order of operations in multiply and divide, add and subtract. All right, so on the first one, we can simplify. Do you agree that we could simplify what's in parentheses? Can I do 17 minus 7? Yeah, of course I can. All right, so 17 minus 7 is 10, and then 8 times 10 is 80. And 80 is my answer, okay? And that does bring up something that does commonly happen with this section. We are used to using our calculators so much that when we don't use our calculators, it opens us up to making very small but simple mathematical mistakes, and then it'll throw off our answer. So just double check these questions for those mathematical errors, because you cannot use your calculator on your homework tonight. Obviously, that would defeat the whole purpose of using your order of operations, because your calculator would be doing it for you. All right, now in the second one, we have to simplify numerator and denominator first. Okay, so 14 plus 6 is what? 20. 12 minus 7 is what? 5. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. All right, now on the last one, we actually see something that, you'll see from time to time, but we see a grouping within another grouping. So in this case, you're going to solve the innermost grouping first. All right, so we're going to leave the brackets in our second step. We're going to say 5 times 36 minus 22. And now we're going to solve what's inside the brackets. 36 minus 22 is 14. Anybody think they know what's 5 times 14?
75.
70. 70. So now we're going to take a minute to do some classwork problems. I want you to work these 6 problems. When you're done, raise your hand and I'll come around and check. Okay, so let's go through this. Number 1, what do we do first? Divide 63 and 7 to get 9. 28 minus 9 is 19. Number 2, I multiply first. 12 times 4 is 48. Add it, and I get 100. And then number 3, I have to multiply and divide each set of terms, and then I can add them together to get 63. So 9 times 6 is 54. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Add them, 63. Now up here, I add what's in parentheses to get 2. Oh, I'll come back to number 4. When I subtract here and add on the bottom, 64 divided by 8 is 8. On number 6, this is the grouping within a grouping. So I do 11 minus 7 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 72 divided by 8 is 9. Going back up to number 4, 10 times 2 is 20. All right, so some of you got them all. Some of you missed a couple, just, little mathematical errors you just have to watch out for. Okay? Now, example 3 deals with substituting a value for a variable and then solving. All right, so in example 3, we're going to take these values of x and y. X equals 2 and y equals 5. And we're just going to plug them into the expression and then use order of operations to solve. So if I plug in 2 for x and 5 for y, go ahead and evaluate that on your papers. All right, I made the substitution for you on the first one. Go ahead and evaluate. So 2 plus 5 is 7. 4 times 7 is 28. Now on the next one, hopefully you've already gotten started on this one, we make our substitutions in 2 plus 5. What do I do first? What would I do first? Nope. I do what's in parentheses. Now I have 3 times 7 squared. Now, do I multiply first or do I do my exponent first? Exponent. 7 squared is 49. Now, here's a hint for solving this. I don't think any of us could solve 3 times 49 using mental math and having to carry. But here's what we might be able to do. All right, 3 times 150. Now, if you can't, then just work this out on paper and it's fine. But what's 3 times 50? 3 times 50? 150, okay? So if 3 times 50 is 150, how many did I go up from 49 to 50? 1, and since I multiplied it by 3, I went up 3 extra, so I can do 150 minus 3 to get 147, and that's my answer, okay? So you can use this method a lot. I do it actually a lot in even my day-to-day shopping, okay? If I'm like looking for sales and that type of thing and percentages, we can use this type of mental math. All right, so we just rounded up to an even number that was easy to multiply. We bumped it up by 1, and since we were multiplying by 3, we subtracted 3. On the last one, we make our substitution, and 3 times 2 is 6, plus 5 is 11. All right, and that's it for example 2. Oh, I'm sorry, example 3. All right, lastly, we're going to cover example 4, which is putting a plan together. You have 3 problems like this on your homework tonight, using a problem-solving plan. So I just want to go over this with you. All right, let's read it. Read it to yourself while I'm reading the example. It says you buy a pattern and enough material to make 2 pillows. 2 pillows. All right? The pattern costs $5, and each pillow requires $3.95 worth of fabric and a button that costs 75 cents. Usually you put a button in the middle of the pillow. So what is the total cost of your crafting project? What's the total cost of your project? Well, I gave you a hint, and I went ahead and gave you the verbal model. The verbal model is what you're going to have to come up with on your homework. On number 28, in part A, so you might want to go back and listen to this part when you're working on your homework. It asks you for an expression. You use the verbal model to set that up, okay, and then the answer. Same thing with number 30. You're asked to write an expression and then evaluate. And number 36, again, write an expression and evaluate. It always starts with this verbal model. I have to figure out how I'm piecing it together. So the expression here is going to be the pattern, which if I buy a pattern, is there a limit how many times I can use it? I can make 200 pillows with it if I wanted to. It doesn't change the fact that my pattern only costs $5. Now, I'm multiplying it by 2. Why? Why am I multiplying it by 2? Because there's 2 pillows. So if there was 3 pillows, I multiply it by 3. Times the fabric, which is $3.95, plus the cost of the button, which is 75 cents. All right, now I'm going to use that, and I don't know the total cost. I'm going to use that rounding rule that I just talked to you guys about to try to add these together without having to write it out. If you need to write it out, that's fine. But $3.95 is awful close to what? $4. How many cents did I go up to get from $3.95 to $4? 5 cents. So I could increase $3.95 by 5 cents and decrease 75 cents by 5 cents. So I'm just offsetting it. So if I go up to $4, that brings 75 cents down to 70 cents. So what is that? $4.70. Just like that, I was able to solve it without having to do any math. If you have to add 95 and 75, that's going to be a lot harder than it is just to offset that 5 cents. Does that make sense? All right, and then we could just solve it. Now, if that confuses you, then just work it out on paper. That's fine too. Now we have 5 plus 2 times $4.70. Technically, we could do the same thing again. $4.75, you could bump up to what? $5. What's 2 times $5? $10. But how many cents did I bump it up? 30. And I did it twice, so that's 60 cents. So what's $5 minus 60 cents? $4.40. You just did it. Instead of having to do 2 times 470, which you can, you could just round it that way, and it's easier to work mental math. 5 plus $9.40. Now, how do you think you could solve this part mental math? Very good. Add your dollars together. 5 and 9 is 14, and then just bring your cents over. So $14.40 is the total cost of your project. $14.40. I know it's hard to see on the screen, so just listen. It says $14.40. And if you understand that, that's everything you need to know for 1.3.